This world has suddenly changed into a game. Monsters are all over the world killing people. Now survival only depends on skills. Our protagonist Kazuto is trying to survive in this world. After waiting for long, he decides to step out for food and supplies. Outside, he meets Momo, a street dog he used to feed her. Right now, both are at a building where some men fighting orcs. He could step in and fight the orcs with Momo's help. Winning would mean more experience, thanks from the survivors, and maybe useful information. But then what? Those people might rely on him for protection. They could demand to see his item box or pressure him to share supplies, arguing that everyone is suffering. In the end, he'd just become their pack mule and guard. As someone who once lived like a corporate slave, Kazuto already feels that weight coming back. All that effort for complete strangers. He admits he never thought he could be this cold, but in this new world, survival is every man's fight. He convinces himself that leaving isn't wrong, even if those men are risking their lives so others can survive. He decides to walk away, but first checks with Momo. She simply leaves the decision to him. Kazuto tells Momo to retreat as soon as conceal runs out. But just before they leave, he suddenly freezes. His senses scream that something awful is coming. He orders Momo to shield them with her shadow control. A moment later, the high-ranking orc unleashes a roar so powerful, it makes the entire shopping mall collapse. Kazuto stumbles, struggling to stay on his feet, and quickly checks on the dizzy Momo. That roar wasn't just loud, it was a skill. A shout strong enough to cause massive destruction. Every man fighting the orcs is now dead. The high-ranking orc points at the mall, sending a swarm of orcs marching inside. Then the huge orc starts walking toward the ruins, but suddenly halts. Its eyes narrow as it glares at something. Even though the big orc is several meters away and Kazuto has his stealth skill active, their eyes still lock. Even worse, the big orc sneers at him. Kazuto is so shocked and terrified that several of his skills hit their proficiency limits. Fear resistance, stress resistance, enemy sense, and danger sense all level up, and he even gains 2 new skills, retreat and defensive instinct. A raindrop on his face snaps him back to reality, just as the big orc snorts and turns away. Kazuto doesn't waste a second. He takes the chance to run for his life. But he soon realizes the big orc isn't chasing him. Still, he's so shaken that he keeps running without stopping. His mind screams for him to find a place, any place, where that orc's eyes can't reach. He bitterly accepts that in his current weak and unprepared state, he'll eventually die. But one thing he's sure of, he doesn't want to die. To survive, he knows he must get stronger, much stronger than he is now. Kazuto finally makes it back to his apartment and collapses on the floor, gasping for air. Both he and Momo drink water to calm down. Never in his life has Kazuto felt so close to death. He realizes he got overconfident from his new skills and recent victories, which made him careless. That mistake almost cost him his life. Frustrated, Kazuto tugs at his hair, and the act makes his stress resistance level up again. He drops flat on the floor, completely worn out, while Momo looks just as tired. Kazuto empties his item box and sets up a makeshift barricade in case of a night attack. The two of them sleep in the middle of their improvised shelter, ending the first day of the changed world. The next morning, Kazuto wakes to Momo licking his face. Kazuto greets her groggily and looks around, relieved that no monsters attacked during the night. Over breakfast, he tells Momo they'll need to start hunting monsters on purpose. Momo tilts her head, not fully understanding, so he explains they need to level up to survive. He reassures her that they won't take on anything too dangerous yet. Safety comes first. Speaking seriously, he asks if she'll join forces with him so they can survive together. Momo answers with a cheerful woof and Kazuto smiles, thanking her. When he opens his status screen, he sees that several skills have leveled up. To his surprise, a brand new skill has also appeared. He realizes that new skills unlock when certain conditions are met. Using his SP, Kazuto gains poison resistance and auto HP recovery. Suddenly, Kazuto notices Momo stomping her feet and staring at a corner. Curious, he asks what's wrong. It seems she has gained a new skill and wants to show him. Momo does her best to explain, but Kazuto can't figure out her signals, which makes her whine in frustration. Later, Kazuto leaves the apartment to search for the big orc. He's more determined than ever to level up quickly. This time, he heads in the opposite direction of the shopping mall, choosing safety over confrontation. As they walk through the streets, he sees countless corpses and wonders what the government or military are doing now. Suddenly, Momo barks, alerting him to a nearby goblin. Kazuto quickly hunts it down, but his level doesn't rise this time. They keep moving, and Kazuto realizes many people are still hiding inside their homes. If help had come quickly, maybe people could have survived by staying indoors. But now, monsters are actively hunting humans in this town. Kazuto briefly thinks about how this is similar to the shut-in job class, but brushes it off. He isn't interested in info-based classes. After defeating another goblin, he finally reaches level 6. He uses his SP to raise his spy job to level 10. This unlocks high rank and secondary job classes. Excited, he finds an empty house to rest and check his stats. He debates between operative, thief, or assassin. Wishing he had an appraisal skill like in fantasy stories, he takes time to think. In the end, he chooses assassin as his high rank job and hunter as his secondary. The choice immediately grants him new skills. His AGI-UP and DX-UP boost his stats significantly. Inspect block lets him resist status checks from enemies of the same level, while silent steps hides even the sound of his clothes moving. Farsight improves his long-range vision, and track enemy reveals creatures within a 10-meter range. His progress feels huge compared to when he first started. Over lunch, he talks strategy with Momo, planning their new fighting style around their upgraded skills. As they move on, Kazuto's track enemy, danger sense, and enemy sense all react near a mini-mart. Using Farsight, he sees 4 goblins and 1 hobgoblin inside. Luckily, the danger feels low, nothing like when he faced the big orc, so he chooses to continue. Kazuto carefully approaches the mart and checks their positions. 1 goblin near the register, 2 in the meat section, and 4 in the produce section along with the hobgoblin. That makes 8 enemies in total. This is the largest group Kazuto has ever faced at once, but he's determined to take it head-on. He admits it would be easier with another human partner since both he and Momo are short to mid-range fighters. Kazuto explains the plan. He'll throw stones to draw attention while Momo hides in his shadow. Momo has a new skill that lets her hide inside another person's shadow, which they discovered during their lunch break. Amazingly, even while inside his shadow, they can still talk to each other. However, she can only enter through his shadow. Once hidden, she can control other shadows. And if Kazuto's shadow connects to another, she can appear from that spot as well. Using silent steps, Kazuto sneaks to the mart's entrance but suddenly gets a strange feeling of being watched. Since neither danger sense nor enemy sense activates, he brushes it off as paranoia. He follows the plan, tossing stones to create a distraction. The goblins inside take the bait, letting Kazuto sneak in. He heads to the meat section first. Momo uses shadow control to strangle 2 goblins, and Kazuto finishes them off with his blade, gaining experience points and soul stones. Then he moves toward the produce section, where 4 goblins are resting, unaware of their companions' deaths. When one wanders away, Kazuto quickly eliminates it. Now only 4 goblins and 1 hobgoblin are left. Suddenly, a goblin appears at the entrance and screeches loudly. The goblins inside become hostile, bickering in their strange language. The hobgoblin watches calmly, then stomps over and roars. Kazuto flinches, worried it might be using a shout skill, but it's only a normal yell. Thankfully, the goblins outside run away. Kazuto takes the chance to open his item box and store several display shelves. The goblins are startled, though only the shelves disappear and the items stay behind. Still, the goblins are confused, giving Kazuto the chance to use the shelves as barriers to separate the hobgoblin from the others. He assigns Momo to handle the goblin near the door while he deals with the remaining 3. The hobgoblin shrieks and smashes through the obstacles to reach him, but Kazuto doesn't plan to fight it directly. Instead, he throws a water balloon filled with Tabasco sauce, something he prepared earlier during a strategy session with Momo. The liquid hits the hobgoblin's eyes, making it scream in pain. Not stopping there, Kazuto pulls out his ultimate weapon, a vending machine, and drops it on the hobgoblin. One hit isn't enough, so he repeats the process until the beast is completely flattened. Momo comes back with the goblin she handled, and Kazuto uses the vending machine on it as well. After the tough battle, Kazuto reaches level 7. He and Momo cheer together, thrilled with their progress. Far away, a girl watches Kazuto closely. She notices that he's clearly an LV holder, strong enough to sense her from a distance. Finally, she's found someone like her, a human actively hunting monsters. Kazuto is exhausted from fighting the goblins, but Momo quickly lifts his spirits. She wags her tail and looks at him happily. He pets her without stopping, and almost immediately feels better. Honestly, he doesn't think he'll ever be able to stop petting her. Even though the fight gave him valuable experience, Kazuto knows there's still plenty of room to improve. His teamwork with Momo, the Tabasco balloons, and his use of the item box were all helpful tactics, but what he really needs are tools made specifically for fighting monsters. That means he has to collect a lot more gear. Right now, though, the biggest problem isn't weapons. It's himself. His senses can't keep up with his much higher AGI. He managed this time, but if he doesn't fix that gap, it could cost him his life. He reminds himself not to get overconfident. Kazuto spends some JP and SP to level up his assassin and hunter classes, but wisely keeps 3 SP in reserve. He gives all the soul stones to Momo and stores any useful items in his item box. It's time to go out again. He tells Momo to hide in his shadow. He's also upgraded his item box, planning to gather necessities while continuing to hunt monsters. Just as he starts his journey, Kazuto hears something and instinctively looks up. A helicopter is flying overhead. Its markings show it belongs to the Japan Defense Force. He wonders where it's headed and is shocked to see it going straight for the shopping mall. Kazuto thinks about going there to ask for help, but the memory of the high-ranking orc terrifies him. His danger sense warns him to stay away. He knows the JDF are elite, skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and armed with weapons far stronger than his washing machines and vending machines. They're clearly on a different level. After considering it, Kazuto decides to watch from a distance. Thanks to his farsight skill, he doesn't need to get close. He chooses a nearby apartment building, one that isn't triggering any danger alerts. He tells Momo to stay hidden in his shadow and starts moving. He hasn't gone far when he senses several humans nearby. A group of people is running toward the mall, hoping the JDF will save them. Kazuto realizes these people must have been hiding until now, and he understands their desperation. Still, he sticks to his plan and heads to the apartment building. Once he senses no threats, he climbs to the rooftop, surveys the area, and tells Momo to come out. From their vantage point, they watch the helicopter land in the parking lot. 5 soldiers step out. Kazuto is amazed. They're still operating in a world gone mad. These men look strong and carry the best weapons civilization has. Kazuto thinks they'll gain experience by hunting monsters with guns, but something catches his attention. Only 4 of the soldiers have firearms. The 5th soldier is unarmed. Sao. Just then Momo barks. She's sensed an orc nearby. It hasn't noticed the soldiers yet. Within seconds, it's taken down easily. Kazuto is impressed by the one-sided fight. Guns feel almost unfair in this fantasy world. 2 more orcs appear, and are also eliminated without effort. Kazuto notices the soldiers aim even before the orcs are visible. It's probably a sensory skill, like his track enemy or enemy sense. Unlike him, they seem to share information and have overwhelming long-range firepower. It gives Kazuto hope. Maybe this strategy can actually work. Then, the terrifying roar of the big orc echoes through the air. Kazuto ducks immediately and grabs Momo, who wraps them both in her shadow. Once the roar ends, Kazuto checks on Momo and is relieved to see she's unharmed, likely because the roar wasn't close enough to reach them. He immediately rushes to check on the JDF. Luckily, all 5 seem alive and are communicating, though Kazuto can't hear what they're saying from this far away. But there's no sign of the high-ranking orc, until suddenly the helicopter crashes and explodes, brought down by the big orc. Kazuto is stunned. The orc leaped and smashed the aircraft with raw power. The impact throws the pilot into the soldiers, killing one instantly. The rest open fire, but the orc shields itself with its massive arms and closes the distance in seconds. One by one, the elite soldiers are taken down, unable to even scratch their enemy. The high orc lets out another roar, this time signaling the swarm. Orcs start moving toward the civilians who had approached the mall, hoping for rescue. Kazuto can't bear to watch. Kazuto realizes that the JDF must have only sent one skilled team to this town, because stronger monsters probably exist elsewhere. Dragons, phoenixes. Just thinking about it chills him. Deep down, he had hoped someone would fix this nightmare. But seeing the JDF fall makes it clear he can rely on no one but himself. He tells Momo to follow him. They have to get stronger. Together, they head toward the home center across from the mall. As they leave, a girl steps out of hiding. She watches them go with slight disappointment, clearly hoping they would notice her. She knows she could try to talk to them, but the thought of approaching strangers feels overwhelming. Moving on, Kazuto comes across a new scene. 2 groups of people arguing over a hiding spot. One group, with 12 people, is mostly middle-aged adults. The other group has 5 rowdy-looking middle schoolers who seem like delinquents. Kazuto uses his skills to assess the situation and detects more people inside the building. He uses sharp ear to listen in. While he's still thinking, someone named Nishino steps out to check the noise. Quickly understanding the situation, Nishino tells everyone they can't be allowed in unless they meet certain conditions. Kazuto wonders if he'll ask for a beautiful girl, but instead, Nishino asks if someone among them is willing to hunt monsters. The new group is clearly shocked, but Nishino calmly explains that even a single hunt would be enough. The older group complains and looks at the weapons warily, but Nishino explains that hunting monsters will increase their levels. He reminds them that surviving the past 2 days was already risky, and if they now want cooperation, they must offer something in return. Kazuto thinks presenting the information and conditions so bluntly is a bit too direct. However, the middle-aged group doesn't seem to believe this world has become game-like, with levels and skills. Kazuto pities them. These old hags can't see the truth even now. They even start begging Nishino's group for help, making Kazuto silently conclude they're just a troublesome bunch. Not wanting to get involved, he quietly leaves. At the supermarket, Kazuto sees more students stacking goods and wonders if they are also part of Nishino's group. However, they don't seem to have an item box. Once they leave, Kazuto enters the supermarket with Momo and starts gathering supplies. Now that he has leveled up his item box, everything disappears into his storage at once, making him ecstatic. The item box range has increased to 5 meters. Kazuto then goes to a nearby store to collect even more. In no time, he gathers everything from one side of the area and notices there doesn't seem to be a storage limit. Curious about what happened at the home center earlier, he decides to check it out. Using track sense, he finds that the refugees accepted the offer. He sneaks around the home center and decides to enter from the rear. Momo uses her shadow skill to open a window, earning Kazuto's thanks as he slips inside. It looks like someone was here recently. Kazuto looks around carefully but immediately hides when he senses people nearby. He sees that Nishino is clearly the leader, so he decides to gather information before taking more supplies. Nishino's group seems unsure about accepting newcomers, seeing it as a possible risk. However, Nishino argues that relying only on their own group is no longer enough. He asks if they should trust the level and skill system that Shihada mentioned. The others are skeptical, pointing out that Shihada is actually against hunting monsters. They're currently risking their lives just to gather supplies, but will have to continue until their levels rise. Nishino believes outsiders aren't a problem because, against his skill, they're just pawns. They even plan to use others as bait if needed. Kazuto is honestly impressed at how calmly they discuss such heartless plans. Clearly, they're confident, but Kazuto still wonders if they can really use skills. Suddenly, a boy bursts into the room with troubling news. Kazuto stiffens, worried it might be about the big orc or an even stronger monster. But the boy announces that the drugstore, convenience store, and supermarket have all been emptied. Of course, Kazuto is the culprit. Tension rises immediately. The group had enough supplies for 3 days, but with the newcomers, it now only lasts 1 day. Nishino tells the boy to share this news with the others. He can't believe everything was raided in just 2 hours and assumes whoever did it must be highly skilled and able to use abilities. They speculate the person might have an item box or some movement magic like in light novels. Though they think about searching for the raider, Nishino insists that since it was done so deliberately, the person wouldn't negotiate. Kazuto wants to explain he meant no harm and that they shouldn't jump to conclusions, but it's too late. They're already preparing for a possible attack. After they leave, Kazuto finally stands and sighs heavily, weighed down by the big misunderstanding. There's nothing he can do now, so he heads to a new hiding spot and eats to calm his stress. Just as he begins to relax, he senses monsters approaching. His skills confirm that 4 are heading toward the home center. Kazuto and Momo immediately move to intercept them. Outside, 4 lesser wolves appear, manageable enemies. Momo scans the area while Kazuto notices the students guarding the entrance haven't seen the threat. Momo rubs against Kazuto's legs to get his attention. He thinks she means the monsters are weak, but he's wrong. Kazuto tells Momo they can't keep the lesser wolves since they're still monsters. Momo seems to understand, so Kazuto refocuses on the threat. The wolves pause, sniffing the air and tracking human scent. Kazuto considers a surprise attack or rushing in while the students are distracted. He doesn't know the students' skill levels, but if things go well, maybe they could form an alliance. The students finally notice the wolves, but it's too late. One is immediately attacked. Another student tries to help, but Kazuto observes his unusual fighting style. He tends to his injured friend, but luckily Nishino and his group arrive. Nishino orders treatment for the wounded. As the rest get ready to fight, one wolf suddenly sniffs the air and howls sharply. The students are confused until the answer becomes clear. Zombies and goblins start flooding in. That howl had called for backup, attracting all kinds of monsters nearby. Kazuto realizes he misjudged the situation. The monsters are using conceal and erase presence to hide, making his detection skills useless. They've surrounded him. Escape is impossible. With no other choice, Kazuto orders Momo to hunt. The enemies close in from all sides, but his item box handles it. Home appliances fall like rain. Kazuto crushes monster after monster, eventually leveling up to 8. One lesser wolf remains, but Momo binds it with her shadow. Kazuto finishes it with an appliance and collects the soul stones, giving them all to Momo to eat. However, the howling continues. More than 20 monsters are still out there. Despite everything, Kazuto decides to retreat.